Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Film Club podcast, where every month we deep dive into a different aspect of cinemas, directors, genres, franchises, or actors. It doesn't matter because it's always fun at the Film Club. I'm Dean.
I'm Boo.
And this month we're talking about foreign films. And this week we're talking about
Seven Samurai.
That's right, Seven Samurai, 3.5-hour long samurai epic from 1954, directed by Akira Kurosawa. This is one of, if not the greatest foreign films ever made, according to everyone that matters. Roger Ebert called this the first modern action film. It is number 20 on Sight and Sound's critics poll, number 15 on the directors poll, and it is a masterpiece in a lot of circles, but we're going to find out the one question we all want to know. Boo, did you like the movie?
I think you're the only one that wants to know the answer to this question, but yeah, I ended up really liking the movie. Like Dean said, it is 3.5 hours long.
Which is usually a sign the Boo's probably gonna have issue with it.
It's more, I like to watch my movies late, and then, we really get late into the morning hours, but no, it was a really good film, really enjoyed it. I was sitting there watching it and thinking, is there any way that they could have trimmed any fat from this movie to make it, shorter, make it tighter? And I think it's perfect the way that it is.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything that you can remove from this movie. And, you need it as part of the story.
Yeah, the whole movie, again, you would think at this length of film there'd be a scene or a shot or something that you could tighten up, but it is as tight as it can be. Yeah. Already. And it's not like there's superfluous stuff going on. And it's also not like, oh, there's the 3-minute tracking shot through the wilderness. No, there's like an hour-long battle sequence at the end of this. And then the whole opening sequence is all the setup and all the samurai, and there's a lot of action going on in the movie. It's not boring.
Which I loved, because I wasn't sure what the movie was about. I went in completely blind, didn't look at anything.
You didn't know there were going to be 7 samurai in the movie?
Well, I was kind of tipped off by that, by looking at the poster. But
poster gives a little too much away.
Yeah, it says a little bit too much. But, in its entirety, it makes sense that, the first hour is establishing what the problem is, hiring the samurai teaching the farmers how to protect themselves, how to, protect their community, and then an hour-long war. Because, with movies now, you get action and it's about 10-15 minutes. Because
movies have to be 2.5 hours at the longest to fit all like the run times and all that shit.
And with this, I was very surprised that the war that we get in this movie is an hour-long war, and it's it's not pretty. I'm like, there is a lot going on,
and it's in waves of forces. It's more like a siege than a fight scene, than a battle.
It's terrifying because it's over the span of like 24 hours, 48 hours.
I think it's a afternoon, a night, and a morning.
Which is, afternoon, the battle begins, but it's once they creep into the night, and you've got people running back and forth around this village.
The bandits are sneaking in, they're trying to infiltrate.
How terrifying is that? I mean, considering this is taking place in the 1500s, so you feel, the fear that they must be feeling, just surrounded in complete darkness and not knowing where these people are going to invade and kill you.
It's the saying, it's like, oh, the barbarians are at the gates and we are huddled in mass hoping to make it through. It's so tense, and the catharsis of the battle is like, again, epic battle. I'm surprised no one died, because, and I'm not saying like in the, oh man, like that guy got punched really hard. No, I understand there's stunt performers here, but there's like teams of horses running through extras where they're like real extras.
There's mud, there's water.
And people are getting knocked over by horses bucking around, and somebody has to go up and grab this guy who's running on a horse and throw him on the ground, and there's guys landing in weird, awkward ways. I'm surprised no one died.
That's just, a sign of how good the stunt team was for this movie, because things happen in modern day movies where, there's protocols and there's safety measures, and people still pass. And in this movie, I mean, man, there's really some crazy stunts that are in there, and, we're good. We're okay.
One of my favorite things about like old Hollywood versus new Hollywood, where people are like, "Oh, back in the day, studio system, blah 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 blah." And I'm like, they fired live rounds at James Cagney, right?
Yeah.
Like they didn't have blanks back then. They just gave some guy a bottle of whiskey and a Thompson submachine gun and say, "Hey, don't shoot the most valuable player in this movie, but make it look good." And in this, they're
Not
like,
surprised.
"So we ran over a few extras with a horse. It's fine. They're paid by the day. It's fine." But that's not here. The movie is grandly epic, but it's directed by Akira Kurosawa, who is S-tier director, probably in the top 3 or 4 greatest directors of all time. Mm-hmm. And I'm curious because, I'm a film bro, as they like to call me. But have you seen many Kurosawas before this?
This is my first Kurosawa film.
Oh, I am so envious of you. Oh, I am so envious. My first Kurosawa was Yojimbo, which...
You talk about it all the time.
Oh, I love that movie. It's a fistful of dollars, but with samurai. It's fucking lit. But I started with Yojimbo, which is like a much lower budgeted movie and a lot more like scrappy. And you're starting with the fucking epic.
Well, I mean, no. That's how you do it.
I guess that's how you do it. But so did you have any concept of Kurosawa before this? Did you know anything about like his legacy director stuff? Have you heard any other movies about the guy?
Just everything that you've told me. Because you like to talk about Kurosawa a lot. But I never, kind of ventured into it until, Foreign Films Month here at the Film Club.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. I'd be willing to watch some of his other films. Researched a little bit about him. Kind of sounded like he was the James Cameron of the 1950s. Because, a lot of this was, I can't build this farming community on a set. I need to do this in actual nature. And it was very, kind of like, I get my budget is this, but I need more. I need to make it more epic. And it's like, yeah, I don't think you could achieve, this feeling of seclusion in these hills and never knowing when you're going to be under attack or what's going to be taken away from you. Like in the film, because they're really like basically in a pit.
Yeah.
In the mountains. And it's just like, yeah, you feel kind of that kind of dread, on edge feeling of these guys can show up at any time and raid us again.
It's interesting you bring up the location because it does look like they're in a pit because, the opening shot, the bandits are up on this hill and they look down at the village and you see that it's like at the base of this valley and it's like, oh, these horses are just going to come down here at Mach 10 and just run through it all because everything washes through this.
Yeah.
And it is interesting that Kurosawa was so adamant about that because, again, this was produced by Toho and they gave him like, I think it was like $100,000-$200,000 for the budget. And then he spent 3 months doing pre-production. The shooting of the film was supposed to take 3 months. And then he gets into shooting it. And then they shut it down. And they shut down this film twice. And both times Kurosawa does the baller move of being like, you invested too much into me. I know you're going to keep greenlight this movie.
Oh, I love that it was a thing where they were like, you know what, we're going to have to shelve this movie. And Kurosawa was like, okay, whatever, you shelve it. I'm going to go fishing. And then they come back to him like, all right, we're ready to start rolling again. And he's like, I knew we were too far in and spent too much money to shelve this picture. It was going to happen, and if I could, take the day off and go fishing for a little bit, all right, sounds good to me.
Which is one of those things, you try to draw the parallel with James Cameron.
That's why I'm like, I could totally picture him like, Avatar 2 is going to take how long? All right, I guess I'll go fishing.
Yeah, because with Cameron, with Avatar 2 and all those stuff, there's definitely a point with these Hollywood movies where there's like, we have put too much money in for us not to have something at the back end.
Exactly. And that's why, I kind of love that was kind of his response to this. It's like, it's going to take us a little bit longer to film this, but I know it's going to be made.
And this is him already coming after making Rashomon, which critically lauded, considered one of the best films ever made. There's like 5 or 6 Kurosawa movies where they're like critically lauded, one of the best films ever made. But he already made that, had all the clout he needed. And he's making Seven Samurai like 4 years later. And he's like, find someone better than me. I fucking dare you.
Do it. Make my day.
And It's crazy because the studio who's making it, Toho,
Mhm.
the same time another movie they're making is going way over budget, way over schedule.
It was Godzilla, right?
Yep, and they released the same year. And you got to be sitting here thinking,
But this is original Gojira?
original Gojira.
Wow.
Yeah,
I think that those two came out at the exact same time.
From the same studio. But you got to think about that. You're a Toho executive in the 1950s, and you're like, how much money are we in the hole? Because Kurosawa started with 200 grand. He's up to $500,000 by the end of the movie, and I believe he is 9 months over budget, or 9 months over schedule, because it took a year to shoot. So now you're sitting there as your Toho executive, like, if either of these movies bomb, I will be out of a job because the studio will crumble underneath me. It's like Cleopatra that sunk, United Artists or Fox?
Yeah. I forget what studio that was, but yeah, it sunk the studio.
Yeah, these big bloated, epics from the 60s and 50s that just were too big and they bombed and they just failed.
You think the audiences in the 50s were having the same dilemma that we're having now with the Barbenheimer thing? We're like, what do we watch first? Do we watch Gojira first and then, Seven Samurai? Or do we watch Seven Samurai first, then Gojira?
Oh my god, that would have been one of the most epic fucking double features of all time. I know they weren't released the same time because no studio in the right mind would release these movies at the same time if they want to make their money back. But that would be one of the most fucking lit double features ever. Like, you watch this very, like, big, epic, heady fucking samurai movie, and then you watch this monster movie that is all allegory of, like, nuclear apocalypse, and it's like, this is insane.
If you guys could only see the look on Dean's face. I think he's gonna have a double feature when he goes home tonight.
That would be great. If I had 7 hours to put aside, I'd give it a shot.
I think you could squeeze it in there.
Just a little. But yeah, like, the production of this movie is, like, insane. Because Kurosawa originally didn't even want to make this Seven Samurai movie. He wanted to make a movie about the day in the life of a samurai.
Yeah.
Because Kurosawa always had this obsession of being like, I want to make entertaining films that have a point.
But he also had lineage to samurai.
Oh, did he?
I read that somewhere, that was somewhere in his lineage. And I was like, okay, so you're pulling from your roots, and I could totally see how you would do, a day in the life. But I was like, I think this is more interesting to see kind of like this band of samurai where some of them know each other, others don't, and, they're able to unite and make this farming community that much stronger.
Yeah, and there's interesting, like, a dichotomy going on there where the farmers are like, oh, they're the victims, but really they're really, like, cruel and underhanded and mischievous, and the samurais are like, I can't believe that, and they're like, we're like this because you made us like this.
I mean, a little barbaric, because when we get the one bandit that they capture to get the information, and they're just, with the scythes and with the bamboo trying to kill him, and the samurai are backing off, and they're like, he's pleading for his life, he's given us information, we let him go now. And they're just like,
that ain't fucking happening, dog. And then the old lady comes up with the stick, and they're like, she needs to avenge her son. And I'm like, I don't know if she knows where she is right now.
I know, I'm watching that, and then the dude that's the one that, was going out and seeking the samurai, I don't know what his name was. The one that lost his wife. Oh,
yeah. That would be Rikichi. I have to have everyone's names written out phonetically for me, because, again, to reiterate my point, dumb American, can't pronounce people's names. Did we do the back of the box yet?
No, you kind of jumped the gun there.
Oh shit! Do we need to do that?
You jumped the musket there.
I did jump the musket there. There's muskets in this movie.
Yes,
Great movie.
that completely threw me.
All right, let me do the back of the box so everyone's on the same page. So, the gist of the movie, for anyone that's wondering, I feel like people should probably figured it out. Oh, 7 samurai defending a village. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But what the movie's about, this poor village, it's about to be attacked by a band of evil bandits. There's 40 of them. They're all on horseback, well armed. They've come to the village before to take their rice and their grain, and they're coming again. But the village, like, they're going to take all of our stuff, and we'll have nothing. We'll actually starve this time. So they hatch a plot. Because they can't defend themselves because they don't have the skill or the prowess, they're going to hire samurai to defend them. And they go into town and they find a elderly samurai an elderly samurai ronin named Kambei, Kambei,
Kemby, I think.
Kambei, who decides to help them out of the kindness of his heart and gathers a team of 7 samurai to fight this impossible battle. And he is this impossible battle where neither side is going to come out unscathed.
No.
Everyone's in danger. People die on both sides of this. And as they are teaching the villagers how to fight, getting them equipped to battle, there's this bond and this understanding between these two cultures, or between these two classes. And there's also this underlying animosity that gets brought up in the film. And by the end of the battle, you're not sure if the samurais have had a victory or not.
Well, I love that. Can we jump to like the end of the movie once the wars happened and it's finished?
Yeah, we'll get to let's do that right now because it's such a major moment of the movie, and
because
we're gonna jump around anyway.
Yeah, I have a feeling that's gonna be a lot of this episode. But you'd think 7 samurai, it's gonna be the samurai that are saving the village, and I love at the end, it's really this community that they've built with the farmers that are able to defeat all the bandits. And once, we see the farmers kind of celebrating, they're planting new rice. It's a thing where Kemby goes, "We lost the battle. We were the samurai that were supposed to come in and save the day and protect everybody, but it was really the farmers. This is their victory."
Is that the feeling you get out of it?
Well, I mean, that was his quote.
Well, I understand that's his quote, but I think to me it comes off as very melancholy. Like, he's like, we were the soldiers that defended these people, and we were the ones who had to pay the price for their victory.
Mm-hmm.
And, in that last shot where it's them and it's the graves of all the 4 fallen samurai.
Yeah.
And, also I love that shot. It's a beautiful shot, by the way. There's so many beautiful shots in this movie.
There is. I mean, that one's probably the most, like, tugs at your heartstrings because...
everyone that's in those graves.
Everyone that's in those graves, but they also kind of built this little family within themselves. Mm. So it's sad to see the 4 that are gone. But I lost track of where I was going.
Toshiro Mifune, beautiful eyes. Like, you get lost in them sometimes.
I mean, he was a riot in this movie.
There are so many good actors in this.
And I think I read somewhere that he kind of stayed in character throughout the entirety of this project.
Well, in character is a stretch. Basically, Kurosawa told him, "Hey, I need a rascal in this position."
But it was
quoted Akira Kurosawa, "I need a rascal in this position." So he just asked Mifune to just improv and just do his thing on camera.
But it was a thing where, like, when cameras weren't rolling, he was coming up with, like, funny things to tell the kids and, doing funny things so the kids would laugh. I mean, a lot of our comic relief in this movie is with him.
Yes.
I mean, the big laughs when he's, trying to control the horse and then,
falls off, comes walking out.
One of the greatest tropes in Hollywood, when you see someone either on a horse, a bike, a car, and then they pass by something that blocks the image, and then it's just,
the horse comes out and they come stumbling out behind the thing. Yeah. We got to talk about the cast, mm-hmm. right? Because, it's 7 samurai, so we got to talk about the 7 samurai.
Except I don't know the names of all the samurai.
I got them here, and don't worry, we'll start with the most name recognized ones, and then we'll work down. And we're already talking about Toshiro Mifune anyway, who's playing Kikuchio. Got it. Feeling good. And he is, like you said, the comic relief, but he's also probably has the most, like, pathos for this, because he is the child of peasants. He's not a samurai. He's not a real, like, in the traditional sense, a samurai.
He's essentially a farmer. Yeah. Which is kind of so strange in this world that, farmers are just regarded as the lowest of the low when, they're the ones that feed you.
It's because of, like, the class system of, like, feudal era Japan. Like, peasants were a thing where it's like, you're a peasant, so you work in the lordship to make grain and whatever and mm-hmm. barley, because that's your class. That's what you do. Mm-hmm. And there's no class mobility. Like, if you're born a peasant, unless, you are a woman who mm-hmm. catches the eye of a samurai and marry up, you're born a peasant, you live a peasant, you die a peasant.
Yeah.
And with Mufune here, Kikuchiyo, he is born a peasant and then decides after the bandits come to his village, tear it apart, his village is burned down, and, the samurais have taken advantage of his village. He decides, I'm going to claim power and become a wandering samurai. And it seems easy. He's like, I got a sword and I'm just really mean and tough, so no one's going to call me on it.
And I'll fight anybody that I can fight. I will drink. I'll do whatever the hell I want. But yeah, he has the biggest character arc, because in the beginning when we first meet him, he's a raging jackass. I mean, he's just all over the place. And then once we get to the end where I can't think of what the samurai's name is. He was really cool. One of the cool ones in the group. I think
there's like 4 of them that are like you would describe as really fucking cool.
But he's the one that's guarding like where the forest area is.
Oh, do you mean the fucking super samurai? Satichiro?
Not the quiet one. He's one of the other guys. When all the farmers, they're carrying him on like a...
Oh, yeah. I think that's fucking... Okay, he's one of them. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce all these names. We're trying our best.
I'm not even going to attempt to name these guys, but, you just see, because he was the one that had to go messing with the bandits, when he starts, stealing their armor and blending in and kind of making these, kind of secret op kills. And, you have Kambei, where he's telling him, you can't just be, basically a glory hog. This isn't about how many kills you can do, how many creative things you can accomplish. We're a team. We're fighting this, war as a team. And that's when the bandits come back and they start really making some significant kills with the farmers. And we see that flip where it's, one of your favorite quotes, the consequences of my actions.
Curse the consequences of my own actions.
And we see that, it profoundly affects him. He understands that, because I went and I provoked the bandits, we lost some really good people.
Yeah, and he has this, and the thing at the end of the movie where he has his, he gets shot and he has to, and he kills the bandit lord at the end. I also love that. I've just been shot in the stomach by a 50 caliber musket. Oh, how did he die? Well, he stabbed the guy who shot him to death. That's how he fucking died, like a badass. Because if you could describe Toshiro Mifune in anything, it is badass.
Yes.
And it's the thing where at the beginning of the movie, you kind of don't like him. He's kind of a jerk. He's kind of an ass.
Well, I mean, compared to Kambei, where he's very, I want to say soothing. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's the right word, but he has a really calming presence where it's like, I don't need to flash my skills. I don't need to be obnoxious. I know who I am, and I know how to diffuse a situation. Yeah,
Kambei, played by Takashi Shimura, who is the other star in this movie.
Who you said looks like the Asian version of my grandfather.
Does he not?
Yes, he does, which is so weird. I was like, when I was watching him, like, wow, you really look like my grandfather, but I don't know if that's just me. And
did you see the picture right now on IMDb where he's like in the old man get up with the hat?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, hi, granddad.
Yeah, kind of.
But he's also like real famous. He worked with Akira Kurosawa beforehand in Akira. Great movie, by the way. Mm-hmm. Really great. And he, in this movie, he's the world weary, very, I've seen a lot of battles, kid, and you know what I got out of him? A lot of bad memories, but he is like the definition of what you wished a samurai would be, where he is humble, he is kind, he fights for the weak, and he's like smart, and he's like the perfect embodiment of what you would hope the hero would be, but he's, this old man who can't really live up to that anymore.
Yeah, because, we hear it from the farmers where this is such a concern to bring the samurai because, they're gonna pillage us, they're gonna, rape the women, they're gonna, do this, and that to us. When, I haven't watched too many samurai movies, but the ones that I have, I've always assumed that the samurai were the good guys. I would never think that they would, do this to the farmers and their families. So that's why I love Kambei, where he's just, that personification of good.
Which is interesting because, like you were saying, oh, in the other movies, oh, the samurais are supposed to be the good guys. This is almost deconstructionism of the samurai mythology.
Mm-hmm.
Like how, like, in American films, Westerns, we had a deconstruction of Westerns in the late 60s, 70s.
Yeah.
They came out of Italy, right, with, Fistful of Dollars, the
Mm-hmm.
spaghetti Westerns. But with Kurosawa, he's deconstructing this mythology of the samurai, the mythology of, like, oh, they were proud warriors and they did everything their lord told them because they worked for the greater good of the realm and yada, yada, yada. Like holy knights, right?
Yeah.
And in this, he's like, no, samurai are human. Like, oh, they're supposed to keep up and, save the weak. And Rikichi and the other villagers go and they ask like 3 samurais and they're like, dude, get the fuck out of my face. I don't work for free. He's like, I'm not here to be, your bodyguard. I'm here to make a name for myself as a great warrior.
I mean, you start to see, how, like you were saying, the samurai, they're people.
Yeah.
And it's the same with the farmers. You might think, oh, these poor farmers. And then you've got some that are kind of like, dude, you're problematic, like Shino's father.
Yeah.
Where he is...
I have some sympathy for him in context of the era they're supposed to be portraying, but he is very
problematic.
Problematic is probably the good word if we're going to use it.
Because it's like you could tell that he loves his daughter, he's trying to protect her, but he goes about it in the wrong ways. Like, I mean, it's a beautifully framed shot when we see Shino, I think, for the first time, and she's washing her hair.
Yes.
And it's just, she's, like, what do you want?
Also, beautiful shot, by the way. And
yeah.
I'm not just saying that because it's like how she moves her head and the hair's hanging down. It's like how it's composed is a really well done shot. And I don't know why it looks so good.
It's also her hair, too. She's got beautiful hair. And because her hair's wet, it's shimmering. So it's kind of like,
the light catches at these perfect angles.
It does. It kind of, sparkles. And you see why he is so determined to cut her hair because... the samurai, they're going to come and they're going to see his beautiful daughter and, the light hits her hair and it's like diamonds and that's really going to be, she is his pride and joy.
Yeah.
That is his treasure. And have someone come in and possibly, sexually assault her, take her away. And he's like, you need to cut your hair off. I'm going to cut your hair off so that they think you're a boy. You need to dress like a boy so they don't take you. But it's just chasing her around with a blade.
Again, how you describe it where it's like, hey, there's going to be some sketchy dudes coming in. We're going to cut your... I'm like, okay, 15th century Japan, I get where you're coming from, bro. When you're chasing her with a straight blade in the middle of the street, you're starting to lose me.
And the fact that, people are just watching this happen and they're not trying to step in and be like,
Well, that's the thing. I think they confront him and they're like, what are you doing? Blah,
eventually,
blah.
Eventually, someone in I guess a leadership role in the, I keep wanting to say the facility, in the community, finally stops him and talks to him and tells him, what are you thinking? What are you doing? And then he finally kind of explains it. You see her crying in the corner, just, chunks of hair missing.
I love how he throws it back at the guy and says, you're only saying that because you have sons.
Yeah.
And then the other villagers start kind of looking at each other and like, oh, fuck, he does have a point.
He does. He has a point, but it's just, he goes about these things in the wrong way. And it's just like, you're doing more trauma to her than these samurai that you've never met before could possibly impose on her.
It's one of those things where I love how flawed the victims, quote unquote, in this are. The villagers, right? Because it's like, oh, they're downtrodden. They're flawed people because they're people, and people are flawed.
Okay, the little old man from the village. Not the elder of the village, but the one that always looks terrified.
Oh, Yohi, who has the greatest I am terrified face in all of cinema.
I just wanted to protect them the entire time.
Just want to give him I loved how him and Mifune's character, Kikuchio, kind of become bros near the end of this. Like, after Yohei finally, like, kills somebody, he's like, oh, I can't believe it. And Rikuchi's like, bro, you're the fucking man. You got this.
I mean, that's a great shot, too, because you see him. I think he makes his kill in the dark.
Yeah, it's in the night. Like, he defended
his
post, and he's like, he got the only kill from the bandits who came across.
Yeah, because we see him, and he's, he's in position where you could see that he's made a strike.
Mm-hmm.
But he is so stuck in this moment that we're not sure if he's been impaled too, or he's been shot, and we're just waiting for him to drop.
And that camera
and the
goes
camera
over.
pans, and we see that no, he has impaled somebody, but he is so in shock that he can't let go. And Mifune has to come over and basically help him, let go of this guy. And yeah, he's totally bro moment. Yeah, you're the fucking man. But it was just like, he is terrified the entire movie, and I just wanted to give him a hug. I was like, it's gonna be okay.
You're like, bro, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. You have all these cool samurai. Let's get on some more of the 7 samurai here.
I mean, we gotta talk about the coolest one of the bunch.
Kyuzo, who is the stone-faced super samurai that... Okay, well, I know we didn't talk about the introduction to everybody, because Kambei has a great introduction where he, cuts his hair off, which is a huge symbol in samurai and Japanese culture, and he, saves the village child who's been kidnapped by a robber.
And he takes the clothes of the monk to, pretend to be a monk to get in, with this kidnapper.
Yeah, he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm a humble monk. I'm here to give you rice balls. You must be hungry. And then you don't see when he darts into the hut, and the guy comes out in slow motion, and he's like, and he dies and falls over, and you're just like, what happened in there? This old man's a bad motherfucker.
Oh, yeah.
Then you have Kyuzo, who we first see him, and it's him and this dude, and they're getting these bamboo sticks ready, and they're like, all right, we're gonna throw down, and the other guy, charges him like, rawr, and Kyuzo just like, boom, pops him like right in the shoulder, and the guy's like, that wasn't fair. If this were real steel, if this were real steel, I would have won. Yeah. Kyuzo's like, if this were real steel, you'd be dead. And then the real steel fucking comes out.
Well, I mean, before that, the other guy is like, come on, let's go. And Kyuzo's like, I don't want to see you die. And that, which, just spurs on the other guy. He's like, come on, let's go.
And I love how Kambei is watching this, and he's like, bro, this ain't even going to be hard for him. Bro, just walk away, man.
It's like the reels and the stuff where you see, someone with like a katana, and they barely unsheath it. They maybe get like a few inches of it unsheathed, and they close it back really tight. It's that kind of kill. It's like, holy shit, he's dead.
Yes, it is. It is, again, like super like textbook. Like, how do you introduce the badass of the group? Like, it is great because the guy comes in charging, raw, and then again, like the 3 inches up, and the guy's like falls over dead, and you're like, and then you see what the fuck?
The rest of the people from that town, they just take off running back into the town, like, oh shit, if he could do that to him.
You're like, that was Bill Billiamson. He was the badass at the local pub. Oh no. Also, I don't know why Bill Billiamson is wandering around Japan, but hey,
I don't even know who that is, but okay.
I don't know either. I made this up.
Wow.
But it's really interesting with that character and that actor. He is played by Sei Miyaguchi. I think I got that one. And fun fact about that character, he's portrayed as like the samurai badass. He's the guy who's like, okay, we need real samurai, and this guy is if this was a Western movie, he would be the gunslinger, like the expert shot, right?
Yeah, he would be the Clint Eastwood.
In reality, they casted him. He had never held a sword before. He literally didn't know how to do any like kendo or samurai stuff. He held a sword for the first time 3 days before this scene. And he was just, and I don't know if he like trained with a real like samurai guy, or he was just like, hey, here's your sword, get used to carrying it around. And he's like, oh, okay.
I mean, this is the definition of leaving no crumbs behind. I mean, wow.
Right. And because you look at him and it looks like this.
You believe that he would have had a sword in his hand his entire life.
And the way he carries himself, the way he carries it, how he has the stance, like how he literally stands. I'm like, I've seen that in paintings of Japanese samurai, like that exact stance, that pose, how he carries himself, how he's holding everything.
I mean, let alone when he sneaks over to their camp to steal one of the muskets. And he just, has not only like 1,000-yard stare, but you could just see the sadness for the lives that he had to take.
And when he comes back and he just hands him the musket and he's just like, 2 dead, and just goes and lays down and goes to sleep. And
he rests on his sword.
And it's a thing where you look at that actor and it's like, oh, did they cast like a kendo state champion for the role? Like, did they just cast him for the stunt? And it's like, no, he was like a real ass like actor. I think he was like a real like theater drama actor or whatever in Japan, and they were like, this guy just looks like a badass. And we'll figure it out.
He's got that, kind of strong silent type look to him.
Yeah. Like the Clint Eastwood type is a perfect description of him. And we also have okay. We're working on this one here. All right. We have Katsuhiro, who is he's the younger samurai. He's the untested. He's the rich kid who is like in the samurai class, but he's like
the one that falls for Shino.
Yes, and he's like maybe like 19 or 20. I don't get a good vibe for the age in anybody in here, but
you can tell he's young.
Definitely the youngest, and he is like all those in like the war movies where it's like, oh, he's the fresh young recruit and he's gonna see what war's really like because he thinks it's gonna be bluster and fun,
and this general's gonna take him under his wing and kind of show him the right way to be a soldier.
And I kind of love his character of Katsuhiro, who he's also played by Isao Kimura. I'm gonna get everybody's names, goddammit. And he almost feels like the lead of the movie. Yeah. Because he has the most transformation from like, I'm a samurai and samurais are badass, to I'm a samurai and now I know why samurais are badass. And he has the relationship with Shino, and that's a thing that becomes a whole kettle of worms, and then he gets his heart broken at the end. Yeah. And it's like, oh, my boy, I don't understand why this peasant girl wouldn't want to ride your wealthy dick all the way back home to the real Lord. God. Okay, like, I don't want to be rude or anything. I guess we've proven Shino, she ain't a gold digger. But but it's like a thing where, he is proving himself in this that he can be a real fighter. Because when they're like gathering the samurai, he's not recruited by the villagers. He's basically just followed Kambei around and be like, bro, I saw you kill that robber and save that child. I must be your disciple. You must train me. Yeah. And Kembei's like, bro, I'm too old for this shit. Yeah. He gives him the Murtaugh. I'm too old for this shit.
Your buddy cop movie where you've got the seasoned detective that's gonna retire
3 days from retirement,
like 3 months, 3 months away, and then you got the new rookie cop that's like, come on, I could do it all, and it's just no. I love that we kind of see him age within the short time frame where it's just, ooh, cool, I'm a samurai, this is fun, we sword fight and we do this and that, and it's like, no, there's a lot of honor and respect, and we see kind of, with the badass one that, I kill somebody and just like, a clink of, opening my sword and closing it, and it's just, wow, there's sadness in his eyes because he took a life. Yes. And it's like, that's what we get with this young samurai where he's kind of understanding, the weight that it is to be a samurai.
And it's that interesting dichotomy between the 4 samurai we've talked about so far, where Kikuchiyo is just the bluster and the bravado of, I am a samurai, that means I have power because I'm also a badass. Because he was a peasant and he was like, oh, the samurai came in and they had power, they took it from my peasant, so I will be what was powerful to me. He's taking that shit back, right? And then you have Kambei, who's on the complete opposite end of that, who is, I am honor, I am respect, I am defending the weak, I am everything a samurai should be or live up to. And you have Kyuzo, who they ask him, hey, we blah blah, we'll pay you and everything like that, and he's like, I only do things to challenge myself, to better myself as a samurai and a swordsman. Which, again, badass trope number 1. Oh, can you help me? I only fight if it makes me stronger. Like, what the fuck is that?
And he's stoic on top of it, where it's just like, what are you thinking? And he's just like, what do we have for dinner later? That might be the thought running through his head. You don't know, which makes him a great soldier. You don't know what's going on in his brain, but he could take you down in like 3 seconds.
Yeah, he's the world weary, beaten down. Like he doesn't have the idea of like honor anymore, but he is completely invested into the skill. And then you have Katsuhiro, who is like, he doesn't know where he's going.
Mm-hmm.
He could end up like a Kikuchiyo, who's, you know, technically not a samurai, but he could be like, I'm bluster and bravado, and people do what I say because I'm a samurai and I'm a badass. Or he could become Kyuzo, and he's like, I don't really invest into the philosophy of the samurai, but I invest into the methodology of the samurai. Training my body, training my sword, training my prowess.
My mind.
My mind, yeah. And then, but then it could be like Kambei, who is like who is into that mythology, that the standards of what it means to be a samurai, what it means to be a good samurai. And then you have, like, fuck, we still have 3 more of these guys. 7 doesn't seem like a big number until you start listing guys off.
Well, especially when you have a hard time pronouncing their names, their character names, and their actual names.
Yes.
And then some of these pictures, the actors are either older or there's no image of them on here. So it's like, you're kind of scrolling and you're like, well, I think that's...
You're like looking at IMDb and you're like, who the fuck are you?
I know, like, I don't remember you from the movie. Like, oh yeah, that's who you were.
But we also have Hihachi, played by Minoru Kiaki. Okay, we're doing it. And he is the great samurai of the wood chopping school.
I think that was the one that I thought was really cool.
Oh,
he's the one that dies. I don't know if he gets...
He's the first samurai to die, I believe.
Yeah.
And they make a note that he's not a great samurai, he's not a great fighter, but he's a good guy.
He's got a great personality, and that's what I kind of loved about him.
He's also huge compared to all the other guys.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's like a camera trick or if they just cast this 6'8" behemoth of a man.
You never know.
But yeah, he's... How would you describe him, I guess?
Friendly.
Right?
Yeah, because I mean, you've got the other one that's kind of the strong silent type. You've got the young samurai that's kind of like a young student that's excited. You've got Kambei, who's like, you know, the expert, the, you know, kind of the weary traveler because he's done it all, he's seen it all. And this one, he's just having a good time because he knows Kambei. So it's like, you know, Kambei, I thought you died like, you know, a decade ago.
No. You're thinking of Gorobi. He's his old friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, or no. Sorry, it's Seiichiro. He is Kembei's old friend. Sorry.
Okay.
I know it's fucking confusing because the last 3 samurai almost fill the same role of not cannon fodder. Obviously, they all have like distinct personalities and they bring different things to the group, but they are the soldiers of this, where each one is like, oh, we're not the greatest fighters, but we have like the soul and the will of the of this group. You know, with Hihachi, he's, you know, the happy and joy. With Gorobi, he is like the skilled second in command, and the only reason he's like second in command is because he's like a real deal samurai. And when Kambei did the test to him, he was like, yo, why are you like doing this weird test thing to me? Are we okay? And Kambei's like, oh, so you're like a real fucking deal. Okay. And he's like, he's almost lined up with Kambei as like joy of the heart kind of thing. Like, I'm doing this to be kind. And then with Seiichiro, goddamn, I'm nailing these fucking names. He comes in again because he's like, old friend Kambei, I thought you died, bro. He's the war bond kind of thing. I don't know. It's interesting because it's like, oh, I'm watching like Band of Brothers again. All these guys just kind of like fucking throw in, and they're gonna you know, kick some ass.
And they do.
They do. Sorry, I sped run the last 3, but fuck, we've been in here a minute.
Yeah, we have.
So let's talk about the rest of the movie.
Yes.
So with the samurais all like brought together, and when they are getting into the village, and when they come into the village for the first time, right? And
they get greeted by nobody.
Which is great. I love that when they walk in and they're all confused. What happened? Blah, blah, blah. And it takes a while before Ryuichi kind of proves himself to the other samurai. When the alarm sounds, they all run out, swords drawn. The villagers come running out. Samurai, help, help. Oh, the bandits are coming. And they're like, who sounded the alarm? Blah, blah, blah. Because the samurai come in and they're like, we're ready to defend you.
Yeah.
Like, okay, the alarm's going on. I guess the fight happens now. And then Kikuchio comes out and he has the alarm and he's like, I sounded the alarm. They're like, why did you do that? Because you guys all hid from us when we walked in. Then I sound the alarm. You come out, help us, blah, blah, blah. It's like, come on, guys. We're all here on the same fucking page. Can we just be, like honest with each other here? We get it. You don't want us to be here, but we're here now.
He's like, rude. Could have said hello.
Could have, offer us a drink. Maybe, bring out some coffee, some cookies,
some sake.
Some sake. I mean, they've been hiding sake.
Yeah.
Kikuchio kind of calls them out on that, which we'll get into the greatest monologue in action cinema in a second.
Drinks almost the whole vase or vase.
It's great. But, they come into this village, right? Mm-hmm. And they're setting up for the attack, and they're trying to show the villagers how to defend themselves. They're getting the bamboo spears and everything like that.
You have Kambei talking to the other samurai and saying, if you were to invade, where would you come from? Mm-hmm. And then it's like, okay, how can we strengthen, how can we leave one area open to basically trap the bandits that come in?
You gotta love that, right?
Oh yeah,
because it's like in most movies, you would have the montage of them building the walls,
battening down the hatches. Yeah, and this, it's like, no, we get a tiny bit of it, but it's mostly them surveying the land.
You have the big map. Also, I love how it has the markings on the side of the map of this. How many bandits are there? 40? All right, we're gonna X out every circle when we kill one of these sons of bitches. And it's kind of enthralling seeing them prepare for battle. Mm-hmm. And in this is also where we get the first sign of tension between villagers and samurai.
Yeah.
And it's also where we get Toshiro Mifune proving he is the Japanese Brando. He's one of the greatest actors of the 1950s.
You gonna start talking about ham sandwiches again?
Oh, we're gonna get there, honey. Don't worry about it. But he comes in and he's wearing this samurai armor, and they're like, "Where the fuck did you get that?" Mm-hmm. And they're like, "Oh, the villagers have a whole stockpile of it because they probably killed a bunch of samurai after a battle." And they're like, "What?" And he's like, Yeah, every village does this. You don't know this?" And they're
gets them all riled up.
And they're like, "What? How could they betray samurai? Because samurai are a class and all this other stuff. How can they betray the noble class of the samurai?"
And you want us to protect you guys.
And it's like, bro, it's like you're killing my brothers in arms, and you're expecting me to come in and save you. And then motherfucking Kikuchio calls every one of them out in the hardest speech in any action movie.
Yeah.
How'd you feel about this one?
It was entertaining.
It's entertaining?
Yes.
Because he is going off.
Oh, yeah.
He's running them up and down. He's like, the only reason these villagers are doing that because you samurai come in, you take advantage of them. All of them.
That's when we get the grand reveal that this is his class.
Yes.
He is not a samurai. He is the son of a farmer.
Yeah, and you kind of... And it's a thing where they've made mention before, I think...
Oh, when they do the family tree?
Great gag, by the way. Great gag. Because I think they asked
him... I stole this birth certificate.
He's like, here's my scroll right here that shows my family lineages, proving I am a samurai. You see right there, Kikuchio, that's me. They're like...
Kambei, that would mean you're 13 years old.
Well, fuck. I love that because... Okay, another great, well-composed image when he has the scroll out and Kembei's like, well, you were born in this year? Well, that would make you 13. And you see in the background, and it's Hihachi, and he's counting on his fingers.
Yeah.
Is that... Yeah, you're right. Yeah, he would only be 13.
Does this look like a 13-year-old of this day and age?
I just love that because it's the foreground, the background, everyone has business. Again, the composition in this movie is flawless.
Oh yeah.
But I love that gag where it's oh, you look at the front, it's it's Toshiro Mifune chewing the scenery. Then in the midground, it's Kambei being like, blah, 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 you know, you fool, you would only be 13. And in the back, the guy's like, fucking, how do numbers work? Is that, yeah, I guess that works out. But we get Kikuchio, and it's the reveal that he is a peasant. Like, he's not a samurai in any real way. He's a samurai in, like, I have a sword and I call myself a samurai.
But I'm not born of that lineage.
Yeah, and
it goes hand in hand with Rikichi when we finally understand why he's so angry. He's basically a powder keg.
Yes.
He is ready to blow, and it's like, I kind of figured...
He's the one pushing for samurai to come in and save the day. That's
why it's like, I had figured out more or less that, you know, either the wife was killed by the samurai or taken, or the bandits killed her, or someone took the wife.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure who took the wife, but someone took the wife.
Screenwriting 101. Somebody killed the wife.
Someone killed the wife. We don't get, you know, the montage of her under the sheets like in all the movies, or her walking down the beach, but,
okay,
you know.
Okay. If Kurosawa did that in Seven Samurai, that would be the only 30 seconds of footage I can cut from this movie. God, could you imagine, like, we're like, Kurosawa, innovator of the under the sheets wavy goddess shot, like,
yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
But we finally, you know, understand what happens, and she's not dead. She is living with the bandits.
She's a concubine of the bandit warlord,
and I'll call it a territory, wherever they're staying, is burnt down by them. And instead of running to her husband, she runs into the flames.
Okay, we gotta explain that bit.
My God.
Okay, because that's one of those action parts of the movie where they're like, oh, the bandits, they have one up on us, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, we can get to their headquarters. We can even the odds.
We're going to burn that shit down.
Exactly. And they go in and they burn it down. And I love it because it's a successful plan. They sneak in, and you're waiting for them to, like, turn the corner, and then some guy's like, oh, and scream, and then it turns into, like, the brawl. You know, oh, the 3 samurai now have to fight off, like, 15 guys and trying to escape. Yeah. You're waiting for that to happen. But they get in, and they light the sleeping huts on fire, and then as they start burning, and they're watching through the window, and it's like, oh, the plan's working. I've never seen this in an action movie work once. And then his wife wakes up.
There's women in there.
There's a lot of women in there.
And it's like, oh shit, you know, like, if there's women, could there possibly be children in there? But, you know, we just see the women run out first, then the men, and it turns into a fight. And men are just being dropped as they run out of the burning building. Yeah,
and I love that before that, because Rikichi's wife wakes up, and she sees the smoke and the fire going, and she just watches it. She doesn't call anybody. She doesn't wake anybody up. She's, like, watching the fire. And I'm very curious your thoughts on this, because she watches the fire, then, oh, the smoke finally wakes people up, they run out, you know, she hasn't alerted anybody, and then when she walks out, Rikichi is, like, trying to grab her, take her, like, oh, you're safe, blah, blah, and then she runs back into the fire and kills herself. I'm curious what you think her headspace was. Do you think it's like, I cannot go back to you because now I'm so ashamed of what has been done to me, or I've betrayed you in the village and I don't want to do this, or it's like, I want all of them to die just as much as I want myself to die? Like, what's your mindset?
I think it was more of a shame thing. You know, it's who knows how long she's been with the bandits.
Yeah.
So I think it's shame, it's guilt, and a little bit is, I don't want to go back to that life. But I mean, the way she looks at him is almost like she sees a ghost. She is so shocked to see him. And yeah, I mean, it was more shocking when she runs into the fire and he's trying to save her and he's trying to go back.
And the samurai are, like, pulling him back. And this is where we get, I swear to God, I can pronounce everyone's names. Hihachi, this is where he dies, I believe, because he dies dragging Rikichi out, and somebody nails him in the back with an arrow, I think
so, or he gets hit by a blade. Something happens.
Yeah.
But I think one of the strongest performances is when they bury the first samurai, and I guess they also bury Rikichi's wife.
Yeah.
And he just, you know, full on grieves, but it's, you know, it's not even crying. It's just, you know, like, noises and screams, and he's digging his hands into the dirt, and it's very raw.
It's that guttural kind of sadness that you only see in real, like, despair.
Mm-hmm. It's very animalistic. It's just like, you're not human at that point. There's, the human is gone. You are just completely broken.
And it's a thing where it's like, oh, you killed, like, the guy who was basically brought in to be the morale, to be the guy who's going to rally us in, in the fourth quarter, because he's like, I might not be the greatest swordsman, but, like, we're doing the right thing. And you know why? Because, guys, we're fucking awesome. That's why. They killed the pep talk guy. And then did. Rikichi is there, and he's like, you know what? Let's rally the fucking troops. And he grabs the fucking banner that Heihachi, like, just finished making, like, the day before, and goes and plants that motherfucker right on top of the hut. And they're like, oh, yeah. Okay, the Seven Samurai, we're still doing this, boys. We're getting this done.
Kikuchi or Minafune?
Yeah.
He's the one that
goes and plants the flag.
He plants the flag.
Yeah, right after Heihachi dies, because Heihachi made the banner the other day.
Yeah, he was like,
The timeline's weird.
Yeah, but he more or less says to them, we need a proper, sign for our war. We need to show that, we are all united and we are ready for a fight. There has to be a banner.
Great banner.
Great banner, yeah. And then the bandits show up as soon as the banner's put up. They're like, oh, okay, it's time to fight. All right, we're here. We're ready.
And that is when, like, the shit starts.
Yeah.
And again, we said before, it's an hour-long battle. And, we're not saying it's like, oh, for 1 solid hour, swords are flying and stuff's happening. But the battle starts, and it's an hour before it's over, before the last drop of blood has been spilled. And it's these waves, and it's daunting, and it really does feel like, oh, the villagers could probably lose this, honestly. Yeah. Or it's like, oh, is, like, every named character in this gonna fucking die? Because, like, people are dropping, like, a lot of the bandits are dropping, right? But there's, like, okay, some of those villagers are, like, they're in face down mode.
I mean, especially when you get to, like, one of the last scenes of the movie, and it's all the women that are in one building. And I don't know if he's, like, the head of the bandits, like their general or whatever. He gets into that building with the women, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, he could just slaughter them.
See, that's like that's the last, like, scene of the battle, and it's raining, and it's like the bandits' last siege, and they're like, we're not gonna leave until we break the line, get into the village. Because then they're like, as soon as we are in the village and we can get to the weak ones, we can at least turn the tide. And it is hard fucking core. They're coming down with the muskets. They get into the room with the village women. And yeah, I'm in the same boat. I'm like, I've seen this movie before, but I don't remember. Does he like start chopping into some of these ladies? Does that happen?
Because you've got the men fighting on the outside. They're screaming, and it's like...
And they're fighting other bandits on fucking horseback.
Exactly. So it's like, this man could go through and, attack the women. And how are they going to hear? Because they're screaming. There's, horses. It's raining. There is so much to kind of muffle out that sound.
Yeah. And again, this is when we get to that the sad parts of it. And I'm wondering where it is where you start getting, like, a little emotional. Is it when, they finally killed the last horseback, and then the bandit chief shoots the musket, and then fucking Kyuzo drops? When you saw that, were you like, no, not Kyuzo, you were the badass?
And when they lift him out of the mud, I was just like, oh my god.
I love it because he's, he has the sword, and he's, like, running through the rain, and you hear the gunshot, he falls down, and then he, like, springs himself, like, back up to, like, one last go with his sword, but it's a musket, the guy's, like, in a building, and he falls down again, and you see him again. This goes to the actor Sei Miyaguchi, who is phenomenal in this movie. And you see when he falls down, he's still, like, kind of trying to keep going, to keep fighting, right?
Yeah.
And Kikuchi is like, oh, why you fucking die? The fuck's wrong with you? And then...
I think the scene that really got me, I think this is Nightfall, when the first day or the first, few hours of this battle, when the couple and their baby go to the barn to go rescue her father.
Oh, yeah.
And, they're like, well, what happened to them? It's a... Mufune is like, well, they didn't come back. They haven't come back yet. And they go back, and she's carrying the baby in the water.
The barn's on fire.
The barn's on fire, and she hands the baby to Kikichio, and then she collapses into is it Kembei's arms or someone else's arms?
I think it's Kembei's arms.
She collapses, and he looks and he goes, "Oh, she's been speared, and who knows how long she's been walking with the baby." And that's when you really have Kikichio kind of, this full circle moment where he says, this baby was me. And you kind of get the full grasp that his parents were possibly slaughtered.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, he finally breaks. It's like he's been trying to, have that moment, and he's been fighting it. He'll run off, he'll go cut things or kick things. And it's like this moment he finally collapses.
And he is the comedic relief of the movie. He's the guy who does the whole he's hopping around and being that old rascal, but he has also the moment of, oh, that is profoundly sad.
Yeah.
And it's almost like, okay, now I kind of get why you're this blustering asshole. It's the Jaws thing. We're referencing Jaws.
We love Jaws.
We love Jaws, where Quinn's telling the story of the Indianapolis, and he's telling it while he's smiling, and it's like, oh, why do you smile so I don't cry?
Yeah.
And it's like,
that's why he has
so
this
good.
trauma, and he's using his anger to kind of survive every day. And it's this battle that finally just tears those walls down. And I think that's why I was more affected when he dies in the end,
right
versus
after
the strong silent type guy that dies, because it's just
because right after Kyuzo, because he's doing it for revenge, because he's like, my brother has fallen, and he charges the fucking bandit chief, rips the door open, gets fucking shot.
Gets shot in the stomach.
Mm-hmm. And I love this whole interaction with Mifune versus the bandit chief. Mm-hmm. That actor is Shinpei Takagi, killing it with these name pronunciations today. And he is in awe of Ricci, because he's just he just gets back up and he's just walking towards him.
And he's terrified.
Yeah. It's fucking wild. Again, the facial performances in this movie are great, but this guy is he's giving Yohei a run for his money in terror.
Yeah, because he legitimately shot him. And he's thinking, oh, I've got the upper hand because
I just shot the other guy and he just fucking died.
Well, it's a thing where, it's yes, with a sword battle, one could be better than the other, but with a gun, this is the whole Indiana Jones thing where, you've got the guy, twirling the sword around, and Indy just pulls the gun out and shoots him dead. And it's he kind of has that kind of, well, I got the musket, so I could take anybody down.
It's,
I think Mifune just has so much anger that he gets up and he's like, yeah, you shot me, but I'm still taking your ass down.
And I love it, because it's not like the bandit chief is runs in terror. He's just in awe. He's like, how the fuck are you still alive? And then realizes oh, you're gonna kill me. That's why you're still alive. And Kikichio Mifune just kind of grabs him and boom, jams the sword into him, and then he just kind of throws the bandit chief to the side. He falls into the water, because he falls in the water, it's over. And then Kikichio is you're oh, is he gonna make it? Or are we gonna get the next shot and he's gonna have the bandages wrapped around his stomach, and he's I made it, guys?
Was he wearing armor and it kind of blocked the musket shot? And no, he just drops.
He just falls over. His war is over.
His war is over, and it's kind of this guy's gonna die a few seconds before I do. But, it's worth it.
To reiterate, how would you describe Mifune in this film? As badass.
Yes.
I like how, because the movie starts and he's a drunken buffoon. He's an obnoxious asshole.
Gets hit on the head with the...
He failed the samurai test easily.
There were others that passed the test, and were
every other one passed the test. And literally all the others.
And he's like, what the fuck? You hit me with a piece of wood?
And the first time they see him, they're just no samurai drinks too much to lose their wits. And he walks in stumbling drunk, and he is yelling and screaming. He literally acts like a dog and kicks dirt behind him.
Yeah.
And by the end of it, you're just nah, dog, you survive, come back, please.
Well, that, and I love that, he makes fun of everybody, and they make fun of the samurai, make fun of him, and then he's kind of like the little brother being made fun of by his older brothers. It's kind of they're able to knock him down a peg, and he just kind of sits there Well, shit, I can't think of a comeback. This is fucked up.
He's like, I'm not smart enough to match wits with you, but I can at least look funny to the children of the village.
I could dance, and, do you guys have any older sisters? And, when they go out to, when they're collecting the barley, and it's the women that are out there with their scythes, and he takes the one scythe from the lady, and he goes, look, I could cut it down 3 times faster than you can, but you gotta be friendly with me later. And she's just like, bro, the fuck, I'm not,
It is lovely. And also I like how he does that, and that's another hint being like, oh yeah, you was a farmer kid. Okay, yeah, you were a farmer boy. All right, I see what you're doing, Mufune.
Mm-hmm.
And it is so fascinating at the length of the movie and how big the cast is.
Yeah.
Again, it's 7 samurai, and then there's like 3 named villagers that you have to keep track of for the plot. And you don't have to keep track of any of the bandits per se, but there's like a lot of interdynamics going on. You're following all like 3 or 4 plots at the same time.
The farmers, their wives, the children. It's like there's so many people in this world. And
you have Kurosawa giving time to invest in real, honest character arcs for at least 3 people in this movie, with Rikichi, the villager, who's like, oh, the hothead, and he's like, we've been beaten down by life and everything is, solemn and we need to defend ourselves. And, at the end of it, he's like, there's nothing. Like, we're going to fight and die, but at least we're going to fight back. And at the end, he's like, we're doing it, boys. Let's gather up this barley. Everything's great.
He's singing while the women are planting the rice. He's just having a good old time. And he's another one where you see this complete character arc where, in the beginning, he's on his hands and his knees and he's begging, pleading for help to, where he becomes basically a savage after he loses his wife and he's ready to kill anybody that crosses his path.
He regains his humanity.
Yeah, humanity is totally back at the end of the movie.
And then you have Katsuhiro, the young samurai, and we've been over this where he was, now he's become a true samurai, the true warrior, but he lost that, like, idealism and sees, like, the cost of it. He has his heart broken by Shino, and it's like, brah, and it's the whole thing with his arc.
Shino. I mean...
You're like, I would ship it.
I mean, it's just, they're so dramatic. Well, I mean, more Shino than him, because she's like, screaming things, just be a samurai. And she throws herself on the floor and he's like, oh, that's what you mean? Nah, I'm good.
I love that to no end, because it's like, almost like, I'm almost like, Shino, are you kind of into this? Are you just like, take me? Oh no, please don't. Why aren't you taking me? Do I have to spell it out for you? Take me, dumbass. But no, don't take me. It is... I love her so much, but you see that arc with Katsuhiro and him kind of like growing up, becoming an adult, and then you see Kambei, who is like the world-weary samurai, and they're like, oh, how many battles have you been in? And he's like, I've been in many battles and not a single winning one. And then he fights this one, and the samurai win, and he's like he's in a sadder place than he was at the beginning, and he was already in the world's kind of tough, and at the end he's like, the world's tough and my friends are dead. Man, life's rough.
Yeah.
And it is astounding to me that Kurosawa, the writers, are able to invest so much into providing arcs for all these characters. And I look at movies made now, 70 fucking years later, and I'm like, yeah, Iron Man's the same at the end as he is in the beginning. Same with Captain America, Thor, Hulk. Not to pick on Marvel or anything, but I'm just saying, guys, it's just great. I love how well written this movie is. I went on a long tangent. I'm sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. So since we're getting towards the end of this episode, what is your favorite scene of the movie? It could be like, not content-wise. It could just be, stylistic.
I mean, the style of this movie is the content or context. Shit, there's a couple of fucking good ones. Honestly, I would have to say the ending of the movie, I think, hits me the hardest out of anything in here. Maybe Kikuchio's speech hits me harder in the moment, but looking back on it, that final shot where it pans up and you see the samurai there, the swords and the 3 there, and it's like, oh, this is what it costs to get to here. That's probably my favorite scene of the movie, because it feels like that has the most weight and the most, like, that's the movie that's the thing, the last image of any movie should hit you hard, and that image hits me hard. That
Okay.
I think that the last scene is probably my favorite.
That's a good one.
What about yours?
Mine has to be when it's Kachiro,
Yeah.
the young samurai, when he's laying in the daisies.
So beautiful.
It's a beautiful scene, and it just kind of shows the innocence of him. Because, he's a samurai, this is his class, his family, but it's just, he is still so innocent as a young man. He hasn't really seen war before. And it's just kind of this, this precursor to what's about to happen, but it's just him laying in the field of daisies, and that's when he sees Shino for the first time. And
I love that interaction, by the way.
And it's kind of like, that kind of love at first sight, but then he's like, wait, because he sees the hair, and he's like, well, are you a boy? And then she's like, she doesn't want to answer yes or no. And then he's like, well, if you are, you should be in training. And he starts to kick her ass. And then he realizes...
He starts yelling at her. And he's like, what are you doing out here? You should be in training. You shouldn't be out here picking flowers. He says, holding flowers.
Holding flowers, which I love. It's like, wait, I could be the only boy out here picking flowers, not you two. And he kicks her ass. And he's like, oh my God, you're a chick. And I just beat you up in the flowers. But it's kind of like...
And then she's like, no, don't take me, samurai. Why aren't you taking me? Hurry up and take me, goddammit, but don't take me, no.
They're both like, you're cute though, but no, I can't, but maybe? I don't know. But I just thought that was a beautiful scene, him laying in the field of the flowers.
There's so many beautiful images in this movie. Like Kurosawa is like S-tier director, probably the GOAT editor.
Yeah.
And how he's composing stuff, because I found this out, like, researching it. He's kind of like Wes Anderson in this way specifically.
I could hear the music playing in the Wes Anderson music.
I love you. But you know how in Wes Anderson movies, everything has to be like perfectly symmetrical and everyone has to be in exact positions because he wants his storybook aesthetic to work. Everything has to be on very tight lines. And people are like, oh yeah, Wes Anderson, he's nice. He directs you to the inch, but that's a thing. With Kurosawa, it's like it's the same kind of thing. Every person, every shot, every movement is so masterfully composed that I found out, like, this is why it took so long to make it, year of production here.
Yeah.
Is that because when he is doing certain stuff, he would talk to the actors being like, okay, Mufune, can I get you to stand like right here when you deliver your lines? Hey, can you move like a quarter of an inch to your left? Give me an eighth of an inch to your right. Okay, now right there. Okay, now I need you to take one step too far. Okay, one step back. Okay, right there. Okay, now start from the top. And he would do that for everyone to compose these images. Everything is so precise and delicate. And then you see the battle scenes and it pays off.
Yeah.
Because there's no messed up geography, no messed up continuity. Everything just works and it's amazing. This movie's amazing.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree.
All right. So, final thoughts on Seven Samurai?
Really good movie. Really enjoyed it. I give it 2 thumbs up. 2 strong thumbs up. If you haven't seen any samurai movies, Kurosawa movies, you want to jump into kind of, Japanese films, I think this is a great one to jump into.
Yeah, it is so modern. When Roger Ebert said, "Oh, it's the first modern action movie," he's kind of right.
Yeah.
Because so much of this is going to seem super familiar when you watch it. And it's a movie that, it's epic in like the real sense.
Yeah.
This is like a Lawrence of Arabia kind of epic. And it's super engaging. It's really well paced. Like, it doesn't feel that long. Like, the first hour flies by really quick. I still hold by that. The first hour feels like it's fucking 20 minutes. And
it's just all that build up leading to when the invasion's going to happen.
Yeah. Like, when the intermission clicks in, you're just like, fuck, have we been here for 90 minutes? Oh, fuck, we've been here for 90 minutes. But yeah, 100% recommend. 2 big thumbs up. 5 out of 5 stars. Great, fantastic movie. Go out and see it.
Yes.
But next week, what are we watching?
Well, next week is another pick from Dean. So what are we watching?
Yes, next week we'll be watching Suspiria. Dario Argento, Italian film. It's part of the giallo genre. Giallo is this thing that comes from like Italian horror films, and you're gonna love this.
I do love horror films.
Oh yeah. So giallo is like the slasher films that somebody like John Carpenter took inspiration from to make Halloween.
Okay.
People called Halloween an American giallo film. Like, that was like a real thing. People called like Black Christmas an American giallo film. And Suspiria is kind of like, oh, poster child, this is what a giallo film is. And it's also a movie that you're going to very much appreciate because it's in English.
Oh, that's weird.
Oh, we're going to get into a lot weirder things when you see how they talk. But yeah, great movie.
Are they talking backwards like in Fire Walk with Me?
Maybe.
Okay.
But yeah, 100% love the hell out of Suspiria. I think it's a great vibe. Really gets into the spooky season.
We love spooky season.
We do love spooky seasons. And I can't wait for you to let me know what you think about it. Because this movie will either be Boo's new favorite movie or you're going to hate it with every fiber of your being, and there is no in between. All right, well, we'll see where we go with this. But if you want to listen to us on a different platform than you currently are, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, sorry about that, and YouTube. Yes, you can go to our YouTube channel, The Film Vault. That is The Film Vault on YouTube. And good news, Dean is getting back into uploading our episodes on there. Yep, you'll get to see the slideshow versions of these, and okay, production value is not going up, but at least they're coming out now. And yeah, go give us a like, comment, subscribe, do whatever you can. And if you want to follow us on social media to know what we're doing next, you can go to the Film Club Podcast on Instagram, where we post daily stories, upcoming episodes, and random adventures we go on. And with that, we'll see you next week at the Film Club. Have a good week, everybody.